I appreciate you spending this afternoon with us. This is going to be a power-packed hour going through a winner's guide to placing in the 100 best fleets. So we're going to go ahead and get started right away. My name is Kathy Wellick, and I will be one of today's presenters. I'm the Senior Client Success Manager at Agile Fleet. I handle mainly the university clients at this point, and I'm the former director of Iowa State University in Ames, Iowa, and was in the 100 best fleets and leading fleets for several years. Today's agenda here is going to include an overview of NAFA and the NAFA 100 best fleets, the contest initiatives, the schedule, what the judges are looking for. And then we're going to go a little bit through the guide for the public fleets application and the commercial fleets application, and some special awards that were started last year, the Technician and Fleet Professional of the Year. I know a lot of times a small fleet thinks, oh, I haven't got a chance to be in the 100 best because I just have a small fleet. Not true at all. It doesn't matter the size of your fleet. What matters is data, and that you keep track of data, and that you keep constant improvement. So a quick overview just of NAFA and the 100 best. Many of you may be members of NAFA and some may not. You do not have to be a member of NAFA Fleet Management Association to be part of the contest. So NAFA, if you do become a part of that organization, their mission is to propel the fleet and mobility profession through its world-class certification, education, advocacy, and peer networking programs. And it's an essential element of success for individuals involved in the profession. But today we're really here to learn about the 100 best fleets, what it is, how you can apply, and why you should be a part of it. And so who better to tell us about the 100 best fleets than Mr. Michael Brennan, who is joining us today. He is in charge of the 100 Best Fleets contest, and I'm going to go ahead and let him do his own introduction, and he's going to take us through the first few slides. Welcome, Mike.
Well, thank you, Kathy, and welcome everyone to today's presentation. You know, it's always great to get people involved in the 100 best fleets. I'm Michael Brennan. I've been the program coordinator for the 100 best fleets now for the last 3 years. Around the industry a long time. Many of you I probably know. You probably know me. So we're going to get right to this because we have a full hour of information, and it's going to take that full hour to get it along. You know, NAFA is an outstanding organization, and we brought along the 100 Best Fleets program and really developed it into a really hard educational program. So let's move on to the next slide, and and we'll get going here. You know, some of the contest initiatives that we have, basically it was started by Tom Johnson long ago. Rest his soul, Tom Johnson, but he wanted to give fleets a way to set goals and to set benchmarking metrics, and then to get recognition for that. And he did a great job, and we've got the 100 Best Fleet contest going now. We've added a commercial fleet. We've added some special awards. It's all good. And now that it's under NAFA's portfolio, we're bringing the educational content, which is the articles, the webinars, the regional meetings, because all this information housed in these applications needs to get back to the participants so they can better their own organizations. So let's talk about the contest schedule, just to give everybody an idea where we're at. The open application period began on December the 6th, 23. We had a kickoff webinar at 1 p.m. on the 6th. During that webinar, the application bank opened. I do know as of right now, we have hundreds of applications have been downloaded, and they are under development right now. We've got a lot of them already submitted. So if you haven't downloaded it and get going on that. Follow what you're about to hear today because you're going to have some information you're going to need. The announcement will be at NAFA I&E April 22nd through the 24th. We're going to announce the 100 Best Fleets winners. We're going to have a session on Best Fleets initiatives and presentations by many of the 100 best fleets who are in attendance. And during INE, if you are a participant, whether it's commercial fleet, public fleet, come by the NAFA booth, because the judges and I will be there, and we will be doing application reviews at the booth. So we'll tell you what we saw in your application, but more importantly, we'll tell you maybe what we didn't. So these are things you can write down and start working on and take with you. So that's the contest schedule. Here's where it is. The information is on the NAFA site, www.nafa.org. Go there and get registered right away. And if you do register, reach out to me and let me know you're going to be there, and maybe we'll be able to work you into one of the presentations. We couldn't do all this without the outstanding sponsorship of these sponsors and our procurement partner. It takes a lot to put this program together and to keep it going and to reach out to the regions. And I just want to thank the 2024 100 Best Fleet sponsors. If there's any organizations out there, commercial or suppliers, who feel like they may want to join the sponsorship list, you can reach out to NAFA. Weston Caligeris is the contact. Reach out to him and see what he can offer you as far as a sponsorship agreement. Let's meet the judges this year. We've got a little change this year. For the past 4 years, we've had the same judges, myself, Steve Saltzgiver, and Scott Rude. This year, we've been so busy, we've added Danny Brashear. These guys are guys that you've known throughout the industry for a long time. There is a lot of fleet knowledge on that slide right there. And I just want to thank these guys. It takes a lot of hours to judge this contest. We have hundreds of applications, and these guys pour their heart and soul into it. So thank the judges. So what are they going to look for? Here's some of the most important things they're going to look for. Metrics say 1,000 words. Tell us what your metrics are. When you talk about accomplishments and improvements, detail those. Don't tell us why you're doing it. Tell us how well you're doing it. All of the judges have been in the industry a long time. We know why you're doing it. We see hundreds of fleets every year. Tell us how well you're doing it. Don't forget, tell us the goal. What's the initiative? Where are you at in that goal? A lot of goals go year after year. Tell us where you're at and what the outcome is. Or whether it's still ongoing, or maybe it didn't even work, but let us know, because all that stuff counts. We want to see your efficiencies, policies, savings. What'd you consolidate? What are you doing? How are you making things better in your fleet?
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Oh, go ahead.
Anyway,
sorry.
That's okay. I was going to do one more slide.
I had a different note. Sorry.
For the public and commercial fleet contests online, there is an application guide. This is what it has in it. I highly recommend you read the guide before you submit your application. There's a lot of information and how-tos in there. There's information on what to do and how to write it and all that good stuff. So go to these guides. They were updated for this year. Thank you, Kathy.
Yes, thank you. Sorry about that. I was a screen early there. My apologies. So thank you, Mike. I appreciate you being here with us today. And as Mike said, it really is about the metrics, right? So we want to remind you to start early. The contest is already open, but go ahead and get started now. Don't wait till it's time to turn it in. Involve all levels of your organization. They really have different ideas and so forth that they might be able to add. Focus on your organization, be as detailed yet concise. It's not like there are a lot of characters for you to be able to fill in. And be honest and factual. Like Mike said, sometimes things don't go as planned, but that's okay, because that was that learning opportunity, right? That you learned from and knew that you then had to go a different direction. Make sure you thoroughly complete the application. There's an essay on the end, which we'll get a little bit further detail about later, that you can explain more detailed information, and always include supporting documents, because that really helps if there's a tiebreaker that they need to solve. So for the fields, when you start the contest in section 1, it's going to be the same for both the public and the commercial fleet contest. But what we ask is that in the agency name, please use the official name, no acronyms, because sometimes it's hard for us to understand exactly who it is if you just put NY. So we need to know exactly what the official name is. Ensure accuracy on your mailing address, the contact information in case there are any questions that the judges might have that they need clarification on. And then on that application information, just go ahead and share the full application. Adding a team photo is really helpful as well, especially if you win, because they're going to go ahead and they're going to put that up, and they're going to show those other fleet professionals at the I&E what your team's doing, because your team is doing great things. And participate in the webinars and regional events. You know, that's how you really get from good to great. So make sure you're participating in the different things. So this year there are just a couple changes from last year. So we're going to go over real quick the 2024 contest changes. And I have asked Mike too, if there's anything I missed, that he just go ahead and join in while I'm presenting. So if he does so, you'll know why. And so with those public criteria changes in the public contest, we are taking celebration and performance recognition, and they've merged. So really tell us about all of that together. That really, you know, when you have great performance, you should be celebrating that. So it really belonged together. And then the new criterion is financial management. If you don't have financial management in your fleet's not going to be around for long, because that is one of the most important things that you can do in your fleet, is know exactly what your costs are coming in, what's going out, you know, what's your rate per hour, what rates do you need to charge back. So it's very important that you're on top of your financials. And then for the commercial contest criteria changes, there's just one change, and the ESG was renamed Sustainability and Stewardship. So if that catches you off guard, that is what the change was, so you'll know when you're filling it out. So some of the application parts are the same, some are not. So what we're going to do first is go through the public fleet application, and then after that, we'll go through the commercial one. So accountability is considered by the judges to be data relevant question, right? So organizations should have a published list of measures or metrics that they use to document their performance and progress. So this published list should ideally be included within a written business or strategic plan, which is updated and reviewed and approved at least annually by your organization's governing authority. So it also needs to be made available to your customer service centers and to the public for review. So if another form or document is utilized, it also should be reviewed, approved, and published in a similar manner with your review dates. It's always a good idea to include the revision date. So the list of metrics should include both organizational-wide and specific measures for both the organization, specific functions within the fleet operation, and personal measures for individual team members. So examples of those include fleet availability, technician productivity, technician vehicle ratio, direct indirect labor, and so on. So these measures should document the specific goal, the current or last updated value, and the trend analysis for that particular measure or metric. And so remember, Agile Fleet has over 60 reports that you can look up this information that you need for the application. Accountability metrics here are shown the benchmark metrics that have been identified by the 100 best fleets over the past 3 years within their respective applications. So all 16 of these are key metrics which must be known to effectively manage your fleet. So really try hard to put in the information on these 16 different metrics.
Kathy, what on
Yeah,
that last slide right there,
yeah.
all of those benchmark metrics are available on the NAFA website. You can go in there and look at the NAFA site and find what these averages are for the 100 best fleets over the last 3 years. So all that data is available.
Awesome. Thank you. So next, let's talk about the use of technology and information. So this criteria requires the organization to identify if they have a technology deployment plan, right? So such a plan should be written and incorporated within the organization's business or strategic plan. And again, it should also be reviewed and updated annually. So the technology plan should identify and include fleet information management systems deployed, diagnostic technology deployed, training technology, communication technology, and utilization of the web-based technology services. So it needs to include all the current technology that you have deployed, as well as what you have planned to implement over a specific period of time in the future. So you always need to be looking forward and so forth in your fleet to make sure that you're progressing and making your fleet better. So in response to this criteria identified, the document utilized, if it is included within the business or strategic plan, and how often it is reviewed and published, evidence should be the intent to increase organizational effectiveness through the continued deployment of innovative or modern technologies. And I know yesterday I had a fantastic discussion with Mike just about AI and how the technology is changing so quickly. And I think you're going to see technology continue to change at a more rapid pace. Collaboration is the next area, and it requires an organization to document how teamwork is consistently encouraged throughout all levels of the organization, and changes made through collaborative efforts should be documented as well. As you can tell, that keyword documentation, documentation, documentation. And each such teamwork, should be function specific or agency wide, and it may or may not include customer outside agencies. So are you partnering just within your own business or entity, if it's a university, just within your own department or other departments as well? Or are you also going out and partnering with the city or with the state and with the DOT for different projects and carpools and so forth? So what are all those different collaboration events that you are doing? Creativity is also very important, and you need to document how you're consistently being creative. So like collaboration, it may be limited to a single team member or a small segment of the workforce, or it could be an agency-wide effort. So in this example, this is one of our university clients that use a kiosk so people can get keys 24/7, 365 versus Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Having the kiosk is a creative way to solve many problems, including utilization and staffing and so forth. So being creative, no idea should be turned away. You should always listen to the ideas from your staff and so forth when you're brainstorming and just reflecting on what you're doing, because there might have been something that you forgot. Is there new tools that you're using, devices? Is there a new service delivery system? Are you now offering shuttle services or something? So the response can be, very different, but everyone's creativity is very important. So make sure you take a look at that. Performance recognition and celebration. So this is a pivotal role in the development and retention of employees. And as many of us know today, it is so hard to find employees and to keep employees, right? So this new generation of employees tend to leave quite quickly because they're looking for just the dollar amount that they're getting paid per hour versus the whole benefit package. So what are you doing to recognize and celebrate your staff to get them to stay? You know, are you providing them with certain clothing or handshakes, or do you buy them food? Do you give them jackets when they get the 100 best? You know, what kind of things do you do to celebrate and support them? And then also, who do you tell, right? So make sure that public recognition is documented as well. So if you have a technician of the year, don't just let it stop at your fleet, right? Make sure that your organization knows about it and that your community knows about it. Put it in the newspaper and so forth. They've worked hard to win these awards or these placements. So just make sure you're celebrating those with them and spreading the good word. And it also says a lot about your fleet. So you have a lot of good people, it provides goodwill, and people will stay longer. So organizations also must exhibit high trust culture, right? So that is so important across all levels of an organization. So all employees with the organization should feel as they're owners of the organization's operations and can continue to advance. So they should be able to have discussions which identify, you know, potential processes, improvements, as well as identify and discuss potential pitfalls and consequences without repercussions. And customers and supported agencies should also have similar opportunities to discuss the development and deployment of new initiatives and processes for the betterment of services and support. So in response to this criterion, identify how your organization instills a culture of high trust amongst its employees and other stakeholders. So a document should be in place which identifies steps taken to foster and enrich a high trust culture and the oversight review process. This might be something too where I know I'm talking about a lot of documentation, but maybe you have an intern that this could be a project that they work on, getting all this documentation set up. So even if you don't place, you know, the first year, you can learn from it and hopefully go ahead and place in additional years thereafter. But really get a good plan together that you can go ahead and have a champion and learn from your fleet. So financial management, you need to identify your funding structure and strategy, you know, your capital asset replacements. Are you making sure that you're replacing at the right time? I know right now is difficult since it's harder to get vehicles. Are you saving for those facility upgrades that you need when you bring electric vehicles onto your location, into your fleet? Are there tools and equipment planning strategies in place? You know, what financial metrics do you have, such as staff savings, like in this example, staff savings from using, you know, a kiosk or a system that automates things? You need to have your goal, your intent, and your outcome. And you need to have that year after year. Doing it right the first time. Who doesn't want it done right the first time? The last thing you want is, you know, to take your vehicle to a technician and then have to come back 2 days later for the same problem. So what do you have in place to measure and manage different rework? You know, the frequency and measurements are so important of comebacks and so forth. What's the root cause of the problem? You know, are you understaffed so technicians are going too quickly when they're going through the vehicles and repairing them, and so they're missing things? You know, what is your process? And make sure that you revisit that when things come up. Your stakeholder feedback process, you should be constantly asking your stakeholders for feedback. You know, quality control processes as well. Training, training, and training. Just like in real estate, it's location, location, location. Training is so important in the technician world and to be able to keep people up to date for fleet. So a quick and efficient turnaround is so important. So processes utilized to manage your workflow, your timeliness. Is your FMIS managed? Does it have a downtime clock utilized? How often do you review it? Do you have automated scheduling system that will automatically schedule the vehicles for you? What are your turnaround metrics? Good job, Pete. He's got a thumbs up. I like it. And thank you for leaving comments in there. If your goal is 80% for 24 hours and 90% at 48 hours, and you're actually at 82.7 for 2 hours and 87% at 24 hours previous period. What are your numbers compared to what your goal is? Part supply. Do you demand satisfaction metrics? Are your parts coming in a timely manner, or do you have to wait for parts? And PM compliance metrics. Are you making sure that everything is done on time and in compliance based on miles or hours or time? So like Mike had indicated earlier, this is a sample of one of the average turn times. So these are all available on NAFA's site. And so this one here shown is the 100 Best Fleets average turnaround metrics for the past 3 years since identifying it in 2021. So the average goal and performance remain relatively stable with little change. And the key metric shown is the turnaround average in 24 hours. Although all fleets should document their turnaround time in intervals of 24, 48, and 72 hours within their strategic plan. But the goal and at least a 24-hour number should be included when you fill out your application. Competitive pricing. Do you have a chargeback system employed? If so, how often do you review those rates? Do you compare your rates to your peers? Do your rates look like compared to other peers in your area and other outsourced examples? If your hourly rate is $105.50, but the market rate is $121.75, you're 16.25% less on your hourly rate. So that's a good thing. So your parts supply, your subcontract markups and metrics, are you marking up your parts relatively in comparison to the other fleets as well? So just make sure that you're keeping an eye and keeping track of your competition as well. So your competition doesn't come in and take over your fleet. So shown here is the 100 Best Fleets average hourly rate metrics for the past 3 years, again, since identifying them in 2021. And again, there's, little variance over the 3-year period for the average. Staff development. In this day and age, a written succession and development plan is so important. So you should, again, annually review it and approve it, make any tweaks that you might need to make. Have those individual and team goals and metrics. So if your goal is for all of your staff to have 40 hours of training annually, make sure that happens. Block time off for that. Maybe 25 hours of that is technical, where, they're learning new processes and procedures within the shop. But 15%, can be safety, social skills, and so forth. You never need to forget safety. You always need to have that on your mind. And be willing to reimburse for training. Training is so important, just like your bosses invest in you and letting you go to NAFA, INE, and so forth. Those technicians and those people doing the everyday in the trenches, they deserve to have that training and encouragement as well. What apprenticeship or mentoring or peer review programs do you have? And in-house, off-site training, online training available? What kind of training do you have that you can provide for your folks? And then next, last but not least, on the public side is resource stewardship. And that's a fundamental aspect of operational efficiency. And the organizations need to have a written plan. A resource stewardship plan is in place that describes, the team's efforts, which are reviewed and updated annually. The plan needs to document how human resources, the most valuable resource, right, within your organization, is allocated and nurtured. And it also needs to address how the organization manages its capital resources to maintain cost-effective services to the community. And then commitment to environmental sustainability and compliance with environmental regulations in place. And this all is in efforts to limit future degradation to our air, right? Water and land. We want to make sure that our water and land and air is good for the next generation. So in response to this criteria identified, your resource stewardship plan, where is it housed? Describe your actions and initiatives. How is your organization taking to increase these? What are they doing to increase these? And other resource efforts that you are doing in your organization. And with that too, actually, I'm going to go back a second. I want to remind you too that NAFA also offers the Green Fleet Awards and the Green Fleet Garage, the Green Garage. So please make sure that you also look for those programs as well throughout the year. So the Green Garages, I believe, actually is going to be announced tomorrow. I do believe tomorrow or Thursday. I was a judge for that contest with a couple other folks. So that will be coming out soon. You can check out at nafa.org for that. Well, we made it to the commercial fleets and we're about halfway through, so we're doing good. Sorry, I have to talk fast, but again, there's a lot to go through. So accountability is considered by the judges to be data relevant, right? So with that, publish the list of metrics that you have, business and strategic, annually update and approve it. What measures of the organization, specific functions. So again, a lot of this is repetitive, your productivity, your labor rate, your PM compliance, etc. And then documenting. So be concise, your goal, your current value, your up, down, or your steady. How are you in comparison to last year and previous years? Are you up? Are you down? What is it? And make sure you use your reports and resources available on your FMIS system to get that information.
Kathy, could I add something there?
Yeah. Do you want me to go back a screen or not?
Yeah, just go back there real quick.
Okay, you bet.
Accountability, this is exactly the same as it is in the public fleets. But what I do want to tell everybody out there is, especially the commercial fleets tend not to share numbers and share metrics because it is competitive. I just want to make a statement and let everybody know that no individual agency, whether private, public, commercial, doesn't matter who you are, we will not share your specific information with anyone. We simply use it collectively for our benchmarking processes and the averages for the industry. So, when you see some of these numbers, a lot of times commercial people will say, I can't put that in there, or because we're not going to share it. We just want you to feel comfortable. We will not share that information with anyone. So I wanted to add that in there. That's a question I get quite regularly from commercial fleets.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, that is a very valid point. And so it'll be wrapped up more like what we saw on those other slides, right? It's going to show the averages and so forth, and it's not going to show specific entities whatsoever.
That's correct.
So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, we're hoping this year we get some metrics and we'll be able to have some benchmarks out there for the commercial fleets. We got some last year. We'll see what we get this year, and we'll start that process.
Sounds great. Thank you. I appreciate that. So now this is where it gets slightly different on the commercial fleet side. So if any of you have your CAFM or CAFS, so Certified Automotive Fleet Specialist or Certified Automotive Fleet Manager from NAFA, you will recognize these next 8 slides, right? So these are the different areas of study for the CAFM test. So asset management. It's a primary responsibility of an effective fleet manager and includes many moving parts, right? So you're going to have strategic sourcing involving making organizational level decisions on sourcing that will bring the greatest value to your organization. So this area emphasizes the creation of partner relations based on trust and importance of performance measurement. And one of the most important things a fleet manager does is create a vehicle selector list. And so this selection should be based on the factors most important to the organization, which may include operation capability, cost, safety, or the environment. So that's an important part of this section of the contest. So a formal process should be in place to compare and identify vehicles available for selection. And before that decision is made as to which one to purchase, which vehicle, alternatives to ownership should also be considered. You know, is it more cost effective to lease a vehicle versus buy, or to even reimburse employees to use their own vehicle? And once these vehicles are received, many need to be upfitted and commissioned. So the fleet manager should closely monitor the upfitting and commissioning timeframes for process and schedule improvements. And following that, the fleet manager needs to engage in a variety of activities to make sure you're tracking your utilization, pool resources as needed, and ensure the fleet is being used effectively. At the end of the planned life cycle, a vehicle should be remarketed using the best strategy available for that particular type of vehicle. So sometimes it's sales to employees, sometimes it's virtual or on-site auctions, and sometimes a trade-in might even be considered a valuable option for you. So organizations need to consider their approach of decommissioning and reconditioning. And in response to this, applicants should identify initiative-taking strategies deployed within the organization to increase the effectiveness of the asset management initiative. So it needs to, again, include what? The goal, the intent, the process, and the outcome. So order to delivery, upfitting and commissioning data should all be included within your response in this section. Business management is the next section, which includes, you know, regulation and legislation. So what are your partner relationships and performance measurements? And, you know, what are those legal overtones to that? What are the implications to, you know, if you let somebody take home a vehicle? What's the implication if you let somebody's spouse drive the work vehicle and so forth? So what are some of those legal overtones? And then when you have those identified, you need to make sure you have policies and procedures formally documented to cover those situations, right? And then also your strategic partnering, right? So what are the benefits? What are the relationships? What are the successes that you've had in this area? So again, I know you might be tired of hearing me say it, but it's the goal, the intent, the process, and the outcome, right? So really, it's very simple. You just break it down like that in each of these different sections. So the finance area, financial management, again, is very important. And the different financial issues that may be included include the analysis of various acquisition costs, the ability to conduct fiscal analysis, basic accounting principles, benchmarking, what all do you know, and what numbers are you looking at? So you need to be able to have benchmarking. I recommend that you do your benchmarking and keep track of everything on, a monthly, if not quarterly basis. And then it's not such a heavy load at the end of the year when you're trying to go through everything and see how well you've done for the year. So you need to have accurate numbers as well. Your information's only as good as what you're tracking and putting in, correct? So you want to make sure you have good information that you're putting into your FMIS system so you get good information out. You need to make sure that you're including everything on your finance and cost recovery. Are you including your insurance and so forth? Are you including all your budgeting for your lights and everything, as well as your employees? Just make sure that everything's included and benchmark it all. Goal, intent, process, outcome. If nothing else at the end, you're going to know goal, intent, process, and outcome, and use your resources, right? Next is technology. So information technology. So using that similar to the other public program as well. And so you're going to identify your agency's technology plan, right? So incorporate that within your business or strategic plan. Make sure it's reviewed, updated, and published. And remember, technology includes a lot of different things. So it's information management systems, it's telematics. There's so much that a lot of you do with the telematics. Make sure you're using the telematics reports to be able to report on some of that stuff. Diagnostic tooling and systems, the operating platforms that you're using. What are the remote capabilities? Do you have to do pen and paper, or can you do everything electronically? What integrations do you have with other systems? Are you bringing your fuel and your maintenance and everything into one system so you have accurate total cost of ownership in the system like you can with Agile? Artificial intelligence, that's something that is new and newer, but it's big right now and it's changing fast. So any Zoom meeting that you do now, the meeting minutes are done by the time your meeting's done. And it's just crazy. There's so much in artificial intelligence. And like I said, Mike has some great stories in that, and it's crazy. And then virtual reality, right? So all of us, those games and so forth that our teenage kids play, virtual reality, that is the wave of the future. So what of that technology are you using? And make sure you document it. Maintenance management is one of the most important aspects of the fleet management, right? If the fleet wheels aren't turning, then you aren't making money. So you have to maintain focus on sound maintenance practices and make sure you're making informed decisions and recommendations, and then effectively communicate that, right? So the management and performance monitoring involves proper identification of key performance indicators such as data collection, comparison, analysis to determine performance standards. Are you getting your oil changes done on time? Are the customers satisfied? What's the turn ratio? How quickly are you getting people in and out? What's your average cost of your oil changes and so forth? How do you schedule? Do you do it electronically, or are you still calling up the phone and chasing people down? So make sure you're using as much modernization as you can to really modernize your fleet and take your fleet to the next level. Professional development, this succession planning, leadership development, motivation, communication, mentoring, peer reviews. I love it when you go to the INE and Mike and other judges are there, and they will sit down with you with your application and go through it with you. They will mentor you and help you better understand your fleet. These are the kinds of things. Results driven, leadership initiatives. So how have you overcome barriers? What training have you done? Is there a certain training that your staff provided other fleets? You know, what are you a leader in? Um, Decision-making process too, you know, making sure that you have ethical values and concepts. Are you empowering your staff and making them accountable for different things? Making sure that, you know, they have the ability to make a decision and you will back them up. If that decision was incorrect, then you'll learn from that opportunity. If it was correct, then great. You know, you empowered somebody to grow professionally. Risk management. So risks are classified, you know, according to the probability, frequency, and the magnitude of future loss. You know, you have your quadrants in the risk management module. You know, is it high exposure, you know, high loss, high frequency, or low loss and low frequency? So you got to decide, depending on your chart, you know, what your insurance coverages are. You know, what are the types, the terms, the negotiations? Are you subrogating to make sure you're getting the most money back that you should? Are you self-insured or are you buying insurance? Safety training, you know, can you get any discounts from having certain training? Plus, it's important to just plain train to try and reduce losses, right? And any collaborative examples, you know, have you changed your reporting of accidents and so forth to an electronic form from paper and so forth, so you can get the information quicker and more accurately? You know, what are you doing to make sure you're mitigating as many risks as possible? Next, we have fuel management. Excuse me, sorry. So the fuels, we need to understand the different comparative properties of the fuel. Sorry, I've been fighting COVID this week. You need to know your procurement management strategies. You know, is there a way you can save money by doing a cooperative purchasing agreement with other locations? Excuse me. What technologies are you using to make sure your fuel management is accurate? Are you still just sticking a tank with a stick? Probably not. Hopefully you have, you know, an electronic system that's monitoring your tanks and so forth at all times and making sure that your fuel management is top notch. Spill prevention. What are you doing, you know, to make sure those underground storage tanks and above ground storage tanks are safe? And then sustainability, right? What plans do you have for sustainability? What are your procedures? You know, sustainability isn't just recycling. It isn't just having an electric vehicle. It's everything. It's the whole picture, right? It's also, you know, what your facilities are like. You know, what kind of lighting are you using? What kind of fuel are you using? You know, there's a lot of different things that go into that sustainability planning. So make sure you have the policies and the procedures. And again, what's your goal and so forth, and what's the outcome. So next we have sustainability achievements, and these are becoming increasingly acknowledged alongside traditional key performance indicators. And the corporate world's responding to rising sustainability pressure, right? You know, are your buildings LEED certified and so forth. So these pressures are only expected to continue across all vocations in the fleet management industry. So there's an increase in the volume of publicized literature that sustainability has a positive impact on the bottom line, right? So increasing shareholder value, where board members, CEOs, and senior executives, you know, state strong stewardship and performance is a key contributor to the financial performance. So today, companies, you know, both large and small, set measurable sustainability targets and goals for their organization. So it's important to develop, track, and measure those. So, Mike, I have it. You're going to bring it home here for a little bit, and I'm going to get a drink of water. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. Great job on going through all those different criteria. And you know, just basically for everybody out there, The criteria for both the public and the commercial contest is approximately 50% of the scoring. It's a little bit different in the public than it is the commercial. But now you've got the essay that's required. We allow 4,000 characters. That's about 600 or so words. Sometimes we see less than 100, and sometimes we see a full max where they didn't finish it. So what we really like to tell people is be concise. Again, I said this earlier. We know why you're doing things, but tell us how well you're doing them. And, make sure that your initiatives are clearly understandable, because we don't know anything about your fleet. You need to tell us about it. And it's limited characters. And in the essay, this is where you tell us about where you're headed. Where are you going? What are our initiatives and how are we doing those? And, most every organization has 5 or 6 good initiatives. So tell us about that. And when you write them down, tell us, again, you've heard this from Kathy a bunch, the goal, the intent, the process, and the outcome. And the outcome could be we're not done yet, but where are you at to date? What are your anticipated outcomes? What do you see? Tell us about those things, good or bad. Sometimes you'll get down and you'll get going, and all of a sudden this isn't going to work and you stop. Okay, well, tell us about that too, because you realize this isn't going to work. That information might help somebody else down the road or across the country who's going to try the same thing. And they say, okay, it didn't work. Well, maybe they'll have a different twist on it. They'll share it back with you, and then you can pick it up again. So tell us about that stuff.
Awesome.
So that's where we're at with the essays, and make sure you're concise. The metrics say 1,000 words. Tell us about those numbers. Tell us about continuous improvement. You want to make sure that you have the capability of being one of these people you see in that picture. Every person in that slide, with the exception of myself, is a 100 best fleet contest winner in 2023. So make sure you're there. Winning essays, include a short introduction. Who are you and what are you going to tell us about? Separate your goals. If you're going to share additional information for the criteria in the essay, first of all, in the criteria, if you don't have enough room in 400 characters, at the end, simply say "see essay." And that's going to point the judges to the essay, say, okay, we got to go here and read more information. So we want you to follow the 12 criteria or the 10 criteria so that we know where to find it. Because if we have to read the essay 10 times through every application, we'll never get the scoring done. So tell us where it's at. We really like to see the essays bulleted or paragraphed, and tell us where we're going. That way it's easy for the judges to find your information, and then use your resources. Don't leave others out. Make sure that you share your application with others, because it's hard for one single person in any organization to know everything that's going on. So, share it with your key staff. I know when I was running a fleet and we submitted for the 100 best fleets, every person in the organization, parts, technicians, support, everybody got a copy or a draft of what we were going to submit, and they had an opportunity to share their information.
Awesome.
So we talked about the special awards, and these are really, really close to my heart, because, for so long, we didn't get this included into the 100 best fleets. And there isn't a single 100 best fleet out there that is because of one person alone. It takes a team, and you've got some real superstars on your teams, and we want to hear about them. So we've created the Technician of the Year Award, and in a little bit, we'll talk about the Fleet Professional of the Year Award. And the Technician of the Year Award, as you can see, is right here. It's one thing is some of you have working technicians. Their job description must require 50% technical work. So if you have a working supervisor, he needs to be doing technical work 50% of his time. In the commercial fleets, even if you don't do maintenance in-house, if you have a contractor doing your work, he's probably got a superstar on the floor doing your work. Well, submit him. Even though you're not doing the work, somebody's repairing your vehicles and you can submit them for a technician of the year. Let's move on to the fleet professional of the year. Again, this award is for everyone other than a technician. You've got parts managers, you've got supervisors, you've got analysts, you've got fiscal folks, administrative people, the manager, the director themselves. You've got those people out there and they are really superstars, and you really should be nominating somebody from your team. Again, if you're going to be a 100 best fleet, you're going to have these people on your staff. And when you do the application, you'll fill out the agency application. And just after that, you'll see these two awards. Don't hesitate to nominate them. I would like to say that on these awards last year, at least for the Fleet Technician of the Year, 50% of the nominees were nominated by their peers. So, get your people together and say, who is the person? Who is our Fleet Professional of the Year? Who is our Technician of the Year? And get them submitted. This is that recognition on the national stage that you're going to get them. And let's move on here.
And that actually brings us to the end. I mean, thank you so much for telling us about, the fleet professional and the fleet technician. And that's one thing I want to say, to all of you, this is one thing that I know I tell you a lot throughout the year. We want to tell your story. We're here to tell your story. This is another avenue for you to tell your story and help other fleets. The 100 best fleets, Mike and his staff do a great job of, putting those KPIs out there and, averaging them and so forth from all these wonderful fleets that there are. So you have benchmarks to work towards. And it's all about telling your story. And we are here to help you tell your story. So there is a question. What tips do you have for conveying 12 criteria data in the 400 character limit? I would say be concise. Are you okay that if they use abbreviations? Mike?
Well, you kind of hit on that. And we've talked a little bit about this. The criterion used to be 300 characters. And we got a lot of applications that said CSA. So we spent the time and analyzed how much data we found in the essay. And when we increased to 400 characters, we eliminated about 90% of that CSA. And awesome. We want you to be very concise, because if you're going to spend a lot more time than 400 characters, you're probably getting a little wordy, and you don't need to get there. Like I said, the judges are all fleet professionals. Every one of them has been in the industry for almost 40 years. We see hundreds of fleets every year. We know why you're doing it and what you should be doing. Tell us how well you're doing it. Metrics say 1,000 words. So give us those numbers. We will know where you're at. That's what I can say. If you need to expound, there are some criteria where you're really going to want to add to it. Add to it in the essay. But the essay is where your initiatives are. Don't try to describe an initiative in the criteria. Just tell us how you're doing that. Respond right to the question. And that's how you can keep it in that 400 character range.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. Any other questions that anybody would like to put in the chat? If not, I do want to let you know that this presentation and NAFA's presentation, Mike's presentation about it, is on the NAFA website. Mike's is. Ours, I think, will be available after today's webinar as well. Yes, we will be sending those in an email. Anna has that information on there. And I want to thank you so much for attending today's webinar. Mike, thank you so much for being a part of it.
Kathy, one last thing very quickly.
Yeah.
I would like to remind everybody the open application period closes January 26th.
26.
Don't wait. Get your applications downloaded, get working on them, read the application guide, but it closes on the 26th of January. So you must hit submit, and don't forget to nominate your technicians and your other superstars.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I can't wait to see you all on stage at the 2024 NAFA INEs. So thank you so much, all of you, for joining us today. And I hope you all have a great rest of your afternoon. And if you have any questions as to where you can find information, feel free to reach out. But if not, thank you again for your time, Mike. Thank you, Anna, and Mike from Agile as well for helping set this up. And thank you all for attending and taking time out of your day. Have a great day. Bye-bye.